Sublime magnificence. Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of This Guy Hasn't Seen. And I am joined, as usual, by my friend raising his hand in the air, co-host and everything, El Director himself, Chill Bill Smith.
Hey Omari, thank you so much for having me on our little excuse me. Hello Omari, thank you so much for having me on our little movie adventure thing we got going on. Passing things back and forth. One guy seen, one guy hasn't. These can be very cool because you can go a lot of different ways with it. We will go a frequent thing that we will do is grab films from our childhood that either of us haven't seen. Also, another thing I get to do is pull these movies off of the classics shelf, the greatest of all times shelves that I know you likely have not seen just because of their oldness or their whiteness. And we get to check them out and see if those stamps are valid or not. And so obviously this is one. I'm not going to just pull some random film from 1959 and be like I don't know, it was kind of a this is a seminal classic we are watching this week. Some Like It Hot from 1959. After two male musicians witness a mob hit, they flee the state in an all-female band disguised as women, but further complications set in. It is written and directed by Billy Wilder, and it stars Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. Omari, why no Some Like It Hot?
Aside from just the typical it old, because that's largely contributed to it, it was just more of a never came up for real. Like, people would mention Some Like It Hot, they mentioned Marilyn Monroe, Some Like It Hot, and like, oh, okay, 50s Marilyn Monroe movie, whatever. I knew it was that, but sometimes I also got it mixed up with I would forget that if people didn't mention like who was in it or that it was a movie, I'd think it was like some kind of play or like a Shakespeare play or something called Some Like It Hot. So I'm thinking it's Shakespeare, which made me even less interested in watching it. So I had no real context of what the movie was like, and even when it comes to like expectations, I no idea whatsoever. I knew it was old. I thought it might had something to do with I thought I might have heard it had something to do with like, you know, old school gangster, you know, types, but I saw the picture when it came up and I saw three women and I was like, I really don't know what the fuck this is because I don't read the synopses. And so I just clicked, you know, rent on freaking the streaming thing and watched it. I was like, well, let's see what happens. I know it's old. That's my expectations. I'm expecting an old movie. I had forgotten that Marilyn Monroe was in the movie until watching it.
Well, I was going to ask you. You got three humongous stars of their time here. Two of them are really only two of them. I would say were relevant to our generation, really, and that would be Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon.
Correct.
Do you have any connection to either of those two? Have you?
Our
mutual acting sensei was very into
Jack Lemmon. Yeah, Jack Lemmon, I had seen some of his works because of, like you mentioned. And Marilyn Monroe, I had not really seen anything of hers. I knew she was the girl from the, skirt thing that everyone parodies. And, Happy Birthday, Mr. President, and the whole rumors involved with that. That's about all I knew about Marilyn Monroe. I hadn't really watched any of her movies. I heard she was in a lot of movies, like Some Like It Hot, but again, I always forgot that. So, including as I got ready to watch this, I was like, oh, Marilyn Monroe's in this movie. Okay. And then after a while, I'm like, hey, this Sugar character. I go, who plays Sugar? Oh, that's Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. So that's about all I knew about her. And what was the name of the other individual?
Jack Lemmon, and then Tony Curtis.
Tony
Curtis was a big star of the time, but I would say, he didn't. Jack Lemmon worked until he was very old, and also became just renowned for his abilities beyond his fame. I think Tony Curtis was more of just like an extreme. Although he's not doing anything poorly. I think he was one of those leading men from the studios that was just kind of a leading man archetype, sex icon kind of type of that time. So Jack Lemmon was always kind of playing the second fiddle to those parts. Thus, those always end up being the more coveted roles in the long term, as you and I both know.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what us character actors tell ourselves.
It's because it's true. I mean, look at Jack Lemmon, look at Tony Curtis. Who did we know before this? No. Looks go away with age. Funny is forever.
So let's just start. We hit play.
Yeah, we hit play. We get the classic lion that roars like a tiger. The MGM lion. It still blows my mind that I took 30 years to find out that fact.
Right.
That it's a tiger roar and not a lion roar. Just what? But speaking of old school, the title sequence. Like something from Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry. It's literally just a blank thing with the words, here's who they are, while we play some like orchestra, some music. I'm like, all right. But what I appreciated is, especially with me not knowing what the fuck I'm getting into aside from it old, immediately we start with a fucking police chase and shooting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, it's 50s action movie? Okay.
I mean, it's there's some pretty intense stuff here for 1959. Like, and they're not faking any of this stuff. Like, the best they're doing is they're doing a little slower. And then they're speeding it up. Yeah. They're speeding up the footage. So that's clearly going on. We can tell that. But I mean, it's still like when this vehicle is doing all these spins and shit, it's still got to be moving at a pretty high speed. And then all those guys are just hanging on to the sides for dear life.
Yeah, but that was pretty great. And then we see the fact that they lost their bottles or whatever, and it's like, okay, this is a bootlegging movie. Okay, that's what this movie's about. Still not sure what the three women picture I saw was, but apparently this is a bootlegging movie. And speakeasy, we see them cut to two random dudes playing music in the band. I'm like, well, I'm guessing these band guys are our pro tags. For whatever reason, they're clearly here. And when they're
lit better than everybody else.
They're lit better than everybody else. It's old school, and they do like their, little side things with the characters, like, oh, what do you say? Da-da-da-da. That's considered a little old school bit, but no, there's something more about, like, they gotta be.
Like I wish that was something that was back. I wish there was, and if somebody seeing this could guide me into a modern version, what you would best give your stab as a modern version of it. I don't know why nobody's doing this comedy anymore. Of just like the papa 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 papa, like I love it so much. Yes, it's so specific to the time because nobody does it, and maybe that's why nobody does it, is because it will
feels antiquated.
Like yeah, it'll feel like it's a 1950s piece. But the speed at which they're going back and forth, I just always love that aspect of like a Wilder or a Neil Simon.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, they're there, and I loved it because it cut to the like guy who ordered the coffee when he first sat down, and he starts just casually, ever so slowly, taking out his cop badge, prepping his cigar with it. All the time in the world for anyone to notice and shoot him. Only people that do notice are the pro-tax, but it's just funny that it's just
yeah, almost like, yeah, he's like, better bring me the check in case the place gets raided. Oh, who would raid a funeral? Someone with no respect for the dead.
And then he turns out to be the guy raiding. That is funny. That you mentioned. Better get out of here before the place gets raided.
Yeah, and we're fully introduced to our big bad Spats.
Yeah.
Wonder why he is called that. We're in the age of simplicity here, folks. You got a villain, give him a unique characteristic, and then give him the name after that
characteristic.
Yeah,
Spats Columbo, because he wears spats on his shoes. But
he always wears spats. He really cares about his spats. He wants them to be clean.
But that's also what I love about the like mobster genre. Is that's a staple of it. Is you got Lazy Eye Luca and other stuff like that, and you know what I mean. It's okay, it's this character. What's his thing? Oh, he does that. Oh yeah, that's Danny Boy with the pipes. He's over there with the pipes. The pipes is coming. That kind of shit.
We're gonna call him Pipes.
Yeah, he got the pipes. Yeah.
Hey, Pipes, get over here.
Pockets. Yeah, stuff like that. So I agree with you with that. But yeah, Spats. And I didn't put it together immediately. I did once I reheard the character's name later. But I did, the second time we saw him and they showed the shoes, I was like, I like them denoting that the boss character has these things on his shoes. And then I heard them say his name was Spats. I'm like, that makes even more sense. He's literally, like you said, the name after the Spats. And you got all kinds of like stereotypes, but I mean this in a good way when it comes to like character types or archetypes in this movie. You got the guy with the coin flipping at one point throughout the movie, just boss don't want you, with him with the gun. See,
the big dummy guy, like yeah, boss, no problem, boss. I'll do that, boss. Like he got that guy, yeah. Meanwhile, during this raid, our two protagonists that you highlighted are able to just sneak out via plot armor.
They literally just walk past and like lift their instruments.
They're the only two walking in that direction, and they're just allowed to continue to walk.
Which I also thought was funny. That's because they noticed, unlike everybody else. That was fate rewarding them for having passed their perception check. Like, you see the cop prepping his badge. Your 10 seconds of warning helps everything else.
So now they need a job because they're broke.
Exactly. They're broke and they need a job. And the girl that Joe is talking to, or at least trying to talk to, works for a talent agency, or not a talent agency, but someone that like gets people jobs and shit. And she's like, well, they got a job coming up for blah blah blah, but the two spots.
I think they're depicting that he is completely using her.
Yeah, he's using.
I don't even know if we can call it a relationship.
Well, I said like, talking to, or at least
talking to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it like they're loving. He's a user, as we'll go on to see. But them saxophone
interesting
players,
set
apparently.
of offices, just like a building with like 20 different talented like band specific. I guess this is in the age of like. That's what went on. If you had people coming to a place, you better have music going. You got to hire musicians. Like there's no.
That is true because just
like jukeboxes don't really exist.
Jukeboxes don't exist. You don't have to just play it over the speakers while everyone's in the. Now that you mention it, you can't go into like hardly any store today. For real, without hearing music in the background.
Right. Yeah, it's everywhere.
And so back then, yeah, you're right. The necessity
you just had to have a band.
Yeah, the necessity for bands would be that much in demand. Damn. Yeah. So they're trying to get it.
However, not that much in demand.
Yeah.
For a bassist and a saxophone player, because they can't find a job. The only two jobs are for two ladies.
Yeah, in an all-woman band but it would take place in Florida. Jerry, right? Jack Lemmon's character.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Jerry initially wants to go because, hey, trip to Florida, we'll just pretend to be women. And Joe's like, fuck that shit, not happening. Right. And then later when they go to get a car or whatever,
right, because they ended up picking up some measly job that's like one night it's going to end up being like $16 or something like that. So they go to pick up,
and they're like, yeah, that's enough for like 20 coats.
They go to pick up the girl's car that he's manipulating, which is at like some random auto body shop. And unfortunately, Spats and his boys are also there.
They just walk in and just casually
can't get rid of these guys.
Right? They just casually walk in and just straight up murder her, dude. Just, hey, we heard some shit. We heard you been talking. You ratted us out of the other place. I ain't rat out nothing. Shoot him. Turn around. Like, man, that's some bold ass shit. When they say old school gangster shit, the 50s or it's like, or 20s in this case, by the time the cops find out, we long gone. Yeah, so they did that, and I'm like, okay, I get it, because they eventually get discovered, and it turns out like, oh shit, your witnesses. Spat's about to order them killed, but the guy does like one last little get up, the first guy they were shooting, so they have to turn around and shoot him again. Plot armoring enough for the heroes to escape, but not without getting like 4 bullet holes in the base from the shooting. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, the plot is they gotta dress up as they're gonna take the women job to escape.
Now they gotta get out of the city.
Yeah,
they have no money.
They got no
what
money,
could
nowhere
they
to go.
Do?
I know. Let's go to Florida for 3 weeks anyway, or we could just stay down there. And, now, for whatever reason, Jerry's against the idea.
Well, initially, the only plan is to just get the train. Like, they're just dressing up like women to get on the train.
Yeah.
And get the free train ride to Florida. And then they're just immediately going to, probably go to a bathroom.
Yeah.
Become men.
Yeah.
And then separate. But, yeah. Suddenly Jerry's against it again, like you were saying.
Yeah, because he was for it when that wasn't even part of the plan. It was just, let's go to Florida. And now you're like, nah, I won't do it. I can't do it. Da, 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 da. But it's probably just because, like we mentioned, old school humor. It was funnier to see them reverse the argument, like just in how that worked. Like, haha, they had this argument earlier. Now it's reversed, and now I won't. You don't. You do. I don't. I do. Type shit. But yeah, so they get on the train, end up getting wrapped up with the band and stuff. And Jerry at first takes interest of Sugar.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry at the beginning of this, like at the train sequence, Jerry is depicted as a horn dog.
Yeah, I'm like
as an absolute uncontrollable horn dog. Like,
right?
My goodness.
I was like,
but it's really
Jerry's
just for these two scenes.
Yeah, I'm like, Jerry's horniness is gonna get them busted. I'm like, that's gonna happen because he can't control himself. He's just look at these women. Look at that.
Yeah, it's kind of it's insane, but also I mean maybe of the time that you're never going to be in a situation where women are this undressed and comfortable in front of you.
True.
We live in a different age. Not to say people are undressing in mass groups, but just everyday wear everyday wear can sometimes be like go to any cosplay or convention.
Yeah, no, you're right. You are correct.
So it's just kind of a different world. But so maybe they wanted to make sure somebody was depicting you're never gonna. Yeah. This is something I'm never gonna experience again in my entire life.
Exactly. It's like,
they're all very beautiful women. So at this point, Marilyn Monroe has been introduced.
Correct. And she is Sugar, and she's introduced at first as someone who had snuck alcohol onto the thing. So she's already setting herself apart initially. She's like, I'll get kicked out if they catch me again with this. So she's a repeat offender, and she's like drinking and stuff. And
however, we know from the girls later that it's just like a
everybody.
It's pretty easy to hide from these two babysitters of the band.
Which is crazy when you think okay, if it's this easy to hide it, how did you get caught so many times, Sugar? How much are you drinking?
True.
Because, if you're seen as the bad girl in the bunch when literally the whole bunch is bad girls. But yeah.
Mention real quick now that we're chatting about her. So obviously Marilyn Monroe is a humongous star at this point. Top billing of this film. I mean, really, probably it is a great movie that she has a supporting role in, and the stars of this film are definitely Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. But I don't know if we are watching this movie over 50 years later if it doesn't have Marilyn Monroe carrying it through all of those decades.
There's
something, every generation is going to have Marilyn Monroe as just iconography. She's just kind of past that stage of being a normal person, and it's just it's like a character.
There's a female wrestler in AEW right now whose gimmick is pretty much Marilyn Monroe.
Right. However, I say that to say this movie is well told of being at the height of some of the waves she had as far as her personal troubles and demons, and was well known to be frequently late on set, never knowing lines, dozens and dozens and dozens of takes. Some of these scenes that we watched in this film, they tried over 60 takes.
Oh my goodness.
So there is a level interestingly, as I dug, and that's just I don't know, I feel like it's even more validating reason on why I've loved Jack Lemmon for so long, and partially that's just a big reason of just because of the little diatribes Mr. P used to go on.
Yeah.
But you know, the films I've watched and just loving and connecting with him as like just like a character actor comedian. I can't find him talking bad about her much at all. At least on face value, it's a lot of Billy Wilder and it's a lot of Tony Curtis. Granted, they would have dealt with her the most. He would have only had those few moments with those two scenes with Marilyn. But yeah, they had a lot of negative things to say for quite a long time until the story just kind of shifted into a like realization of her magic that she carried. Of like the statements were very negative in the early years of releasing, and then once you get to kind of the 70s and 80s, obviously posthumously of her death, and they're asked about it again, it's definitely more of like a, well, yes, it was incredibly difficult at times, and yes, she didn't know lines and all of this, but the thing is still up on screen of what she gave. Do I would and almost kind of like a like, God, I wish we could have seen the Marilyn that had it together personally. Because what possibly could we have received with her?
That is true.
Having some forethought into the process. But yeah, she's got a thing, you know. Sometimes there are just stars. Tom Cruise is not Tom Cruise because Tom Cruise is the best actor. There's just something about Tom Cruise that makes him explode off of a screen. And yeah, Marilyn is absolutely one of those people. But I feel like I mean, once you go into the research and trivia and those kind of things, it is just filled with talk of all of the takes and all of the waiting, and so I feel like I just felt like it had to be mentioned.
You thank you for mentioning that. That was educational. I did not know nearly about anything about that process, but that, like you said, that just goes to show, considering what we got out of her in this film, despite all that, yeah, the potential was there for a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so on the train ride, they end up, because Jack Lemmon, or Daphne as his persona becomes, because Daphne is so interested in Sugar and Sugar almost gets caught with a flask again. Daphne takes the fall for her. They like, oh, okay, let's drink together at night or whatever, and they get discovered by another woman, and then suddenly it's party at number 7.
Party at number 7, yeah.
Party at number 7, and they're just all like getting up there and stuff. Eventually, Sugar goes to get ice, and she goes with Josephine, and they start having a conversation about their life and stuff like that. And she mentions that she has a thing for she has a weakness for saxophone players. All they do is use and abuse her and stuff, but she keeps going back. She cannot resist a saxophone player. But you know what? Now she's going to Florida and she's going to find herself a millionaire. And she's going to get the millionaire and date the millionaire, because saxophone players always do her dirty. So Josephine, the saxophone player, now gets the idea in her head to, hey, I'm going to pretend to be a millionaire when I get to Florida. And pretty much eventually, just to fast forward a bit, they get to Florida. They're at the hotel and everything.
Yeah, we could just start jumping around and standout moments and stuff.
Yeah, he goes ahead and he finds. So I will say, they had a scene where Daphne gets, harassed on the elevator by that Osgood guy who would come into play later. But it's one of those things that makes you more appreciative of certain things. Like, I'm happy I don't have to deal with things like being hit on and stuff like that, and assaulted in elevators and stuff like that. Like, I'm just happy that's not part of my life, and I wish it wasn't a part of life for women and stuff. But it's one of those things where they do show that side of things, and I'm like, I'm happy I never had to deal with that as a dude. But yeah, then eventually he decides, but once Josephine finds out that the elevator harasser is a millionaire who owns a yacht or whatever, gets the idea to lie to Sugar, or to pretend to be a millionaire that is one of the people that runs Shell Oil, like the biggest lie you could tell out of it. Like, yeah, I got a yacht out there. How can I go on a yacht? Then he finds out Osgood has a yacht. So it's like, well, Daphne, you gotta date Osgood to get him off the yacht so that I can go out there.
Which Osgood has already expressed a thing for Daphne. So,
yeah.
It's Joe E. Brown is the actor playing Osgood Fielding the Third, and he's doing a fun little performance.
It's always something funny about rich people in the third. Not even like a different number. No, and it's just talking about in fiction. In fiction, rich people generally have the third at the end of their thing. Like fucking Warren Kenneth Worthington III, for instance. Angel and shit like that. Anyway, Osgood Fielding III is in the movie. And so he ends up going on a date with Daphne, where they dance the entire night while what's his name takes the girl onto the yacht.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of a scene there where we're bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
Between and like so first the Osgood and Jack Lemmon thing is hilarious. How they're just kind of like deadpan tangoing, like supposedly literally all night long. And then on the yacht side of things with Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe, I mean, a ridiculous premise, but also kind of a genius maneuver. Like, ridiculous that it works, and like it could never actually work in reality and all that kind of stuff. But like making it a game for her.
Yeah.
Like that's my move, is I'm going to challenge that she can't turn me on. Like that's like a really weird choice to go for, and it working. It's just a really, like, I was thinking about that. I've seen this a bunch of times, but that is
crazy. But I think it helped him. What could have helped him come up with that is that he had preemptive knowledge that she wanted. She came to Florida desperately for this situation. Right. She came to get a millionaire to just take her and fall in love with her like instantly and marry her and sweep her off her feet. So he's like, I'd marry the woman instantly if she could do this. So now she is trying her hardest because she's like, no, it's right in front of me. My goal. Now that's fucked up. He's a fucked up person for doing this or whatever, manipulating and the lying, but it was funny in the context of the movie. And what's his name, despite also being an accomplice for said actions, quite the wing person. Just like.
I mean, in a way, kind of came back in love.
Yeah.
He kind of came back in love with Osgood. Like that's one of the funniest moments in the movie is just his bits in the hotel room when he gets back and just like trying to figure out how he could maybe marry Osgood but not but like still be a man and stuff and like how could this work and like all that and that's all very funny stuff. But maybe I just have, as we talked about, a preference towards Jack Lemmon.
Oh no, that was a funny scene. It just yes, we dance all night.
One note I had was the creepy ass bellhop.
Oh yeah,
in the hotel in Florida, just like constantly going after Tony Curtis's woman character.
Yeah.
And then like at one point literally was like don't worry about leaving the door unlocked, I've got a key. Like, what the fuck? I have given you zero advancement.
That is fucked up. And they're like, what the hell? We're not even trying to do anything. Doesn't matter, you got a skirt on, that's all they care about. But yeah, they
Jack Lemmon was rewinding all the way back to the train station. Our very first moments of seeing them as women, and him just try and like his little like hissy fit of like yeah, I don't know how they walk in these things, and like I'm cold, I have a breathe, like what and then later after Marilyn goes past, and even in 1959. We just get a straight up, strong close up of the backside of Miss Marilyn Monroe, and then yeah, Jack Lemmon's what he says something I don't remember, it's something like it's like there's a machine under there.
Yeah.
How does it move like that? Because it's almost like he's gone past, like it's almost like in that moment he's gone past like just like the male tendency, and it's now he's analyzing it, and it's just like how does that even happen? I can't do that.
Yeah, high heels has always been one of those mysteries where I'm like, hey, more power to y'all. But yeah, what was it? I was surprised, especially because of what happened earlier. I was surprised that Daphne backed off of sugar so easily, or Jack Lemmon backed off of sugar so easily when on the train. That was the goal. That was the main goal. Then they get to the island and suddenly switch, and he seemed upset at first, like, you're just after sugar. And it's like, no, not. And then like immediately, like after, he's like, whatever, you got the sugar.
Yeah, he's, like you said, he's just a great wingman.
Mm-hmm.
But also that's he's just playing the role that he's assigned in the movie, is like your number two. your second fiddle.
Yeah. But also I thought it was funny every time they mentioned every time they lied about their blood type, it was type O.
Well, you look at that. Look how she moves. It's like Jello on springs. Must have some sort of built-in motor or something. I tell you, it's a whole different sex. Oh God.
But yeah. But anyway, after like a lot of the antics and stuff and back and forth, we eventually get some more conflict back in the movie when Spats shows up. Down
of course,
south.
Spats is gonna show up. It's It's the convention for Italian opera lovers. Which is code for all of the mobsters in the country meet up at this hotel at this time.
Pretty much. And they all meet up, and the cop from before is there too, just like, I know you killed the guy on the street. You should have done better. Shouldn't have left those witnesses alive either. We don't know where they are, but you shouldn't have left them alive. It's like, well, and obviously we eventually come into contact with them. And we're like, okay, we gotta escape because they know if they find us, we're gonna die. So Josephine calls Sugar to tell Sugar that, you know, hey, I gotta break up with you. I can't do nothing. I gotta run.
Josephine doesn't call.
Well, Josephine. Yeah, the
millionaire calls.
The millionaire calls. Okay. Yes.
They're going into Venezuelan oil or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's gotta marry the daughter of the leader of the country or something as part of the agreement. So that's why he's gotta cut bait. In the process, gives them sends over the diamond bracelet that Osgood got, which one would argue was not his to give away, but
correct. But you know, when you're playing the second fiddle, I guess you're playing the second fiddle.
You also lose your diamond bracelet. To which Sugar said, "I bet it's worth its weight in gold." The diamond bracelet. And so at that point it's almost just like a chase.
Yeah, the chase gets on, and during the process, at one point, they end up in a room hiding under a table. And of course, the second I saw him under the table, I'm like, and Spats' shoes is gonna come through the bottom. Yep, there they are. Turns out, though, the mafia also hates Spats, so they're planning to kill him with this cake, and they're like, come out the second time they get to, he's a jolly good fella. All right, and then save some cake for my kid.
I was like, what? Save the cake?
Save some cake. My kid's hungry. They go in the other room, and you got this mob boss who's like, Spats fucked up, but I forgive him. He's a fucking dumbass. But it's cool. Like, that's pretty much the premise. I mean, just keeps going, like, very angry. And then, but...
Yeah. Who is that? Who is that guy?
I don't have the name.
So... Was that Little Bonaparte?
Might have been.
Or Toothpick.
Toothpick Charlie died in the thing. Goodbye, Charlie. That's the guy that died in the garage. Was Charlie Toothpick or Toothpick Charlie? It was. I think it was Bonaparte.
I think he's Little Bonaparte. That's a difficult name. Nehemiah Persof. Nehemiah. Great job. Persoff.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the last name.
I think that might be him, but he did a great job. He did a great job.
I had a buddy named Nehemiah, one of my first friends in elementary back in the day.
Fuck that guy.
Rude?
He's not around anymore. You've been usurped, Nehemiah. Multiple times over.
Damn.
You're linking a chain like 30 links back.
This and that. Huh. Fair enough. Anyway, bottom line.
If he actually watches this, hey, Nehemiah, listen. Don't listen. Nehemiah, stop. Don't. I wasn't thinking of you as an objective person. I wasn't thinking of you as a real entity of a human there. It was just a name.
It's just a name.
And I wasn't thinking about you as a person. And I appreciate you. I love you.
I can vouch for what he's saying. That said,
but you are a link in a chain 30 links back.
But
I'm further up in that chain.
Nehemiah Bonaparte in the movie was there, and he had the thing with the hearing. He had a hearing aid, the old school hearing aid.
yeah, that was a cool thing. Yeah, he just kept like elevating, and he was like, yeah, I want to recognize one of our people. It's been doing such a great job,
even though he fucked up.
Some would say he's an idiot. I would say he has room to learn.
And he's like, even though he left 2 witnesses alive. Oh, we came across him. We'll get him again. So you let him get away twice? Well, all is. And then they come out with the cake. He's like, well, either way, he gets a birthday cake. My birthday is not for 4 months.
So we're early.
The cake comes out and they start singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, and you can tell Spats knows something is up.
Oh, Spats knows. I think Spats is playing it like he absolutely knows everything that's about to happen.
Yeah,
like he has seen this exact scenario happen to other people, and he knows he is absolutely fucked. His boys though are just like,
but like he didn't even try to like get up or nothing. He just, yep. He wasn't deadpan. He was like, I don't like this. And this, sure enough, there's no other good enough. Loud as shit. Just empty.
Well, yeah, the detective came in and what? The Bonaparte said some line about the cake that I died laughing. I
know what you're talking about.
Like it's like, again, it's just this kind of stuff is we just don't do it anymore, and I wish we did. Of just like these just fast, quick one-liners in this kind of mode. What happened here? There was something in that cake that didn't agree with him.
Yes, classic.
And then it was there's something in that cake that didn't agree with him. My compliments to the chef. Nobody leaves this room until I get the recipe. I love that kind of shit. I love that shit.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And then we go into like our final chase because they realize that, oh hey, the guys are here. And in the process of running away, Joe sees Sugar singing a song about being through with love because of how depressed she is and stuff. And because, the one guy who was supposed to be different than all them saxophone players still screwed her over. And then the saxophone player runs up and be like, hey, that was me. Come with me and escape. Or no, he doesn't even say he's going to escape. He's just like, I think he tries to apologize or something because he doesn't tell her to come with them.
No, he just wants to tell her the truth, and then she still just starts making out with him. I think because he even has a moment of like, hey. And then she's like, nah. And then pushes further in. And so then at that point, he's on the run, so she's on the run now too.
Yeah. Yeah, as they eventually, they get to the pier, all jump on the boat, start escaping. Osgood's just like, I guess we're eloping. And then they get on the boat. Joe and Sugar, like, well, here we go. He's like, well, just so you know, I am a saxophone player and so. You sure you want to be with me? I don't care. And it gets to the front, and, Daphne's now trying to reveal that she's Jerry, just like, but trying to find every way possible to get the guy to just do it without saying it.
I smoke constantly.
I'm
not a natural blonde.
I don't care. That's all right.
Oh, Jerry.
Yeah, so
I'm a man.
We've all got it problems. Something like that. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah,
nobody's perfect. The end. Like, nah, did you thought you was getting one over on me? Nah, this is happening.
I think he's okay with it. I think we may have just witnessed it, like,
he's okay with it.
A relationship blossom.
Yeah, probably. And but that is the movie. Anything else you want to?
No, I think we covered all of the things
One funny sight gag that they had when they were getting frisked earlier, when the dude's like searches him, he's like, got a gun. Oh, what is this? It ain't loaded. Next other leg, just bullets all over the ground. And then the next guy, I forget what his thing was, but he had a funny, like, stupid thing going on too, and how he was trying to sneak in weapons. It's like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, that was a funny sight gag. Just, it ain't loaded, or it ain't loaded. Next leg, bullets. But yeah, so that was the movie. I guess I'm going into final thoughts. I enjoyed it. I did. It was nice. Probably be a once in a blue moon rewatch, but definitely something I could see myself rewatching in the future. Because it had a lot of funny moments and stuff to it. And Jack Lemmon, great. We've gone over it. Marilyn Monroe, despite the problems filming, I felt still gave a good performance. And Tony Curtis.
Yep.
Yeah, Tony
Father
Curtis.
To Jamie Lee Curtis.
So that's where I've heard the name before. No, I felt like I heard the name Tony Curtis before, but it may have been something in that regard. But fair enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tony Curtis also great job, especially with the trying to do the extra, like, third role on top of the first two roles. I'm the dude disguised as a dude playing another dude. Yeah, I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. So that was cool. Yeah, obviously there were some things that were of the times, but we say that so many times with these movies, it's a fucking given by now. And all of that being what it is, I enjoyed it. I don't have much more to say. You?
Yeah, no, I also I enjoyed doing this one, rewatching this one. It's maybe the third or fourth time I've seen it in my life. It is on a lot of those lists. It was always on those lists when I was a kid. Almost any kind of list you could make of, like, it was on the top 100 AFI list, and then I know AFI then did a series of different lists of like movie lines.
Yeah,
and Nobody's Perfect was very high on that list, maybe the number one at the time. Like, it's always kind of featured there in those things, in that discussion. I think like with a lot of things that we will not, like a lot of things, but like with some of the things that we watch I think it's on those lists because of its pioneering
Yeah.
ventures and different things. Like this has so many archetypes of so many movies that aren't Oscar winners.
Yeah.
Later on in the following decades, it slowly just kind of, this is almost like a romantic comedy like a rom-com starring like Ashton Kutcher and somebody in our day and age, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh but now, but you know, of the time then, it was something different, something magical, something that pushed boundaries. Um so I mean, Jesus, like the dresses that Marilyn was wearing, if someone wore those today, it would be breaking the internet. If some main starlet was wearing a couple of those dresses. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're pushing some boundaries a little bit there in 1959. And I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I really do. I like Tony Curtis. He's basically doing like a, what is it, like a I don't know my 50s and 40s and 30s stars that well, but he's doing like a Cary Grant impersonation basically for The Millionaire. That
Okay.
voice,
Yeah.
that's one of those movie star lead male actors of the studio age. Cary Grant, I think, is the one. Yeah, he's doing a really, he's talked like he's talked about how he's been asked directly, he's considered the more feminine one in the movie. He dons the female role better than Jack, and he was saying that that's not really an acting thing, that he was incredibly uncomfortable in the in the costume and the makeup for the female portion of the role, so much so that his introvertedness that ended up overcoming him while in the female role ended up displaying more feminine qualities, where he described Jack Lemmon as like the second he had the hair and dress on, he started like marching down the studio halls and like jumping into any office that had people in it to just like to challenge him to squeeze his boob or something like that. Because he thought it was hilarious. And so he was much more comfortable, thus able to display some of his more masculine features and stuff. But I think even though he discredited his own performance, I think he does a very good job in the what is it, the Daphne, or no, is Daphne Jack Lemmon?
Yeah, Daphne's Jack Lemmon. Josephine is
Josephine. He did a really good job in the Josephine portion. And then, as I said many times in this episode, I just love Jack Lemmon. I don't know. I think he's one of those people that could just read the phone book, and I'd sit there with glee, particularly like this era of Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then, you know, Marilyn is. I also already did my spiel on Marilyn. I mean, she's a bombshell. She's a star. She's just a star. Like the second she comes on screen, it hits different. She radiates off. She explodes off of the screen, and there's only been like 30 people in the last 80 years that have like exploded off of the screen like that, and you like know it instantly. And so that's not going to hurt your movie. Even if you had to do 60 takes of the going through the drawer scene.
True. I agree with you on that one. So yeah, there you have it. Some like it hot.
What are we watching next week? It's your turn, right?
Yeah. So this is a comedy. We just got done watching a comedy movie that you said you saw in your youth, and you just liked it because you've watched it a lot, right? I haven't watched this one nearly as much, but it is a comedy movie from my youth. The Five Heartbeats. We're going back into the Robert Townsend territory.
Oh, yeah. We had a really good time with Robert.
Yeah, exactly. When we had, Big Bro Ibn on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, with that, speaking of, you can always check that out on the channel. You can check out other videos of ours on the channel as well. You can also find me. Well, you can also see us on Saturdays. We got a channel, or we got a show on this channel called You Don't Watch Sports. Or this guy and myself, we go over some sports topics, 3 topics, help you sprinkle some little information into that sports conversation as we be your guiding light through the sea. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also elsewhere on YouTube on the Whatever We Want podcast. I do that with a good friend of mine and good friend of the show, Super Jazz.
Super Jazz.
Thank you very much, as nature intended. Yeah, we talk about just that. We do that just about every week, every Wednesday. I also have a Twitter and Twitch at GLTavi. That is GIOTAVI. Come on in, stop on by. Billy, you got anything you want to say to the folks out there?
No.
All right. Well, folks, we'll see you next week with the 5 heartbeats. Adiosness.